Hi, this is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we're going to be repairing a Thermador cooktop that the simmer control no longer works, so the center two burners aren't working. So I removed the venturis and the burner caps and the knobs. The venturis I used liquid wrench a couple of days before to penetrate down deep into the threads so I could finally break it loose. I was a little worried about it. I thought I might have to use a torch, but it turned out that just using a 20 millimeter socket that's six-sided with a low camphor worked really well. So I only had to give it a little bit of a nudge to break it loose, but I think the penetrating oil is critical, and I think it has to sit there for a couple of days before you attempt to repair it, just to make sure it can really seep in. It's also sometimes effective to turn the wrench toward the tight side by just a slight turn before you go to the loose to help break loose. And then we can see that the penetrating oil is here on the burner heads too, so this really got a lot. I had the torch here just in case it would have been needed. An effective idea is to use the torch to heat up the venturis and then to use candle wax. You can just use a birthday candle or one of these candles. You place it right where the venturi meets the threads, and the wax goes in deep, penetrates into the threads, and helps it to break loose. Pretty effective. So you can use the liquid wrenches. Effective, that works super good in this case, or you can use the heat from the torch with a little bit of candle wax. But I think patience is important, and it's important to have these six-sided sockets so that it's less likely to strip. Next thing I did is used a wire brush to clean the area where the burner heads had been removed, because a lot of food debris and grease builds up. Mainly was cleaning around the igniters so they're less likely to ground out due to the food particles. So I got that real clean. And then once the burner heads are removed and the knobs are removed, the next thing is just to lift up on the cooktop panel, which is really easy. You should just lift straight up. And now we can see the potentiometers. We can see the spark module and also the simmer controller and the igniters and their wires. So everything is easily accessible. Here's the simmer controller. So we're going to be removing these potentiometers, these two, and then also that simmer controller, and that'll get back the control over the ignition and gas flow for just these two burners. For the Bosch and Thermador, it's pretty common that these go out, and this new kit fixes it. So I'm just going to be removing this one potentiometer. Just lift straight off. I gotta push this little clip off, put that off to the side. I'll grab the new one that comes with the kit, and then I just have to push this thing down onto the stem. It's mainly just sitting there with gravity on this particular model. Some of them you have to push in a little bit to get them to click, but this one, just put it on the stem, push it down into position, and then we put on the electrical connector, and that just also pushes on. We have to make sure that the electrical connector is fully seated, and we'll do that with both of these potentiometers. We also have to make sure we put on this little waterproof piece that just keeps food and water from coming through and hitting the potentiometer. So we're just pushing that electrical connector back on, and pretty easy job altogether. It's just all modular. So here's the electrical connector. I think I'll clean it up a little bit first. Put that back on. And then we'll put on this other little rubber piece to hold that in position. So we'll do the second one. Pull off the little rubber piece. Take off the waterproof cover. Pull off the electrical connector. Just gotta give it a little force, wiggle it. Take off the old potentiometer. Grab the new one from the kit. So these kits now come with the simmer controller and the potentiometers. If you just get the simmer controller only, it won't work because it's been redesigned to go with these new potentiometers. So it has to be done as a kit, 3 pieces, the blue simmer controller, and then these 2 potentiometers. So now we move over to simmer controller. That just is held on by 3 screws. And we just got to make sure that we get the wire colors put on correctly. So you can take a photograph of it. It's probably a good idea. So we got that replaced. We put the cover back on, put the burner heads back on. Notice that there's a little notch on the burner head, and that should be pointing away from the igniter. Get the Venturis back on, and now we have all the flames bright and strong. Back to normal. Knobs back on, and a happy customer. So not that hard of a job. Wish you luck. Thanks for watching.